Pablo Escobar, the Medellin cartel's leader, was on his way to becoming the richest criminal in history by the time he was killed in a shootout with Colombian National Police. Exploring the dizzying figures behind his enterprise is like peering into another universe, one tinged with cocaine mania and a lot of blood. Here's how Pablo Escobar spent his billions. Number 12. He imported tons of product. When contemplating the enormous weight of the narcotics he was importing and trafficking, the enormity of Escobar's business becomes clear. The kingpin used obedient pilots to smuggle 70 to 80 tons of cocaine from Colombia to the United States through the plane's wheels. During the peak of the Medellin operation, an estimated 15 tons of product was shipped to the United States every single day. In addition, the cartel used two remote-controlled submarines to export the cargo undetected and distribute the load. Number 11. He lived extravagantly. Pablo Escobar lived a life of showy wealth and extraordinary luxury, as befitting a real-life Tony Montana. His vacation getaway, Hacienda Nápoles, was a 5,000-acre paradise with everything from pools and bull rings to a private zoo with hippos, elephants, and giraffes. The estate was utilized for family relaxation, as well as hosting cocaine-fueled parties attended by some of Colombia's most powerful and important figures. His family fled into hiding after his death, and Hacienda Nápoles was broken apart by people hunting for rumored buried drug stashes. It is now a wreck inhabited by drifters, hippies, and hippos. Number 10. He offered to pay off Colombia's national debt. One of the most absurd aspects of Escobar's drug business was the scale on which it operated in the United States. It's estimated that he supplied 80% of all coke snorted in the United States during the 1980s. The success of his international policy gave birth to one of Escobar's greatest fears: extradition to the United States. Escobar had promised that he would rather die than do time in a Northern American prison. To avoid this, he attempted to negotiate an incredible deal with Colombian authorities. He would personally pay off the country's $10 billion national debt in cash in exchange for a change in extradition regulations. Needless to say, he was met with a courteous but firm thanks, but no thanks. Number 9. Some Colombians view him as a Robin Hood. Residents of Colombia's poorer regions still make pilgrimages to Escobar's grave to express thanks and pray, just as religious people do for a saint. What's the reason? Escobar invested millions of dollars of his own money in local communities to establish hospitals, schools, churches, and parks for the disadvantaged. He also generously distributed money to the most vulnerable members of society in his community. Many of these residents saw Escobar as a Colombian Robin Hood, evading paying taxes to the rich government in order to feed the needy. Number 8. He built his own jail. Escobar may have feared extradition to the United States, but he usually despised Colombia's prison system. Following the assassination of a presidential candidate in 1991, authorities persuaded him to surrender in exchange for a lower sentence and better treatment in jail. He agreed on the condition that he helped design the prison. He was thereafter imprisoned in the opulent La Cathedral private prison, where he could receive visitors, play football, and make barbecues. The authorities were not permitted to come within 3 miles of the compound. When it was discovered that he was running his empire from behind bars, an attempt was made to transfer him to another prison. Escobar swiftly fled. Number 7. He burned $2 million as fuel. Forbes ranked Escobar as the 17th richest person in the world in 1989. It's safe to say that money was no object to the criminal, as seen by his claimed monthly expenditure of $42,500 on rubber bands to preserve his wads of cash in tidy stacks. An incident from Escobar's period in hiding from the authorities reveals not only his attitude toward money, but also his affection for his family, because murderous gangsters are people too. His daughter grew unwell as a result of the cold weather, having a severe case of pneumonia. Escobar quickly lit fire to wads of cash totaling $2 million to guarantee she stayed warm enough to recover from her illness. Number 6. Rats ate billions of his earnings. When most people encounter bug infestations, the only thing they lose are the uncovered leftovers they were keeping for breakfast the next morning. Escobar's rodent troubles, like so many other aspects of his life, bordered on the bizarre. It's claimed that he had to write off 10% of his profit margin every year owing to waste, such as rodents chewing away at his underground stacks of cash or water damage, destroying the paper money. While 10% may not sound like much, Escobar estimated that it amounted to $1 to $2 billion every year. Allow that to soak in for a moment. Number 5. He was making $420 million per week. So, how much was Pablo Escobar really worth? Though he originally claimed to be just a decent man who exports flowers, at the height of the Medellin cartel's influence, he was thought to be earning up to $60 million every day. When the Forbes list was published in 1989, his wealth was reported to be $25 billion, though this figure may have risen to over $30 billion by the time of his death. As a man who ran a not quite legitimate business, we can only make educated guesses, but the fact that Escobar once purchased a Learjet expressly to convey his wealth speaks loudly. As you watch Narcos and relive Pablo Escobar's life, keep in mind that crime doesn't pay, youngsters. Number 4. He owned expensive properties. Escobar led a life that everyone admired. He adored his properties and made significant investments in real estate. He bought other luxury residences, safe houses, and warehouses. But his Hacienda Nápoles was the most famous. The sprawling estate encompassed 7,000 acres of land and had a Spanish colonial mansion as well as 3 private zoos filled with exotic animals and birds. There was also a sculpture park, a private airfield, a bull ring, and a kart racing track on the property. The property also included 27 lakes, the world's largest motorbike track, 2 helipads, and a kilometer-long airstrip. It even had its own petrol station, mechanics, and paint shop, as well as a large workforce. Number 3. He loved exotic pets. Escobar spent a lot of money on exotic pets, including elephants, tigers, rare birds, and giraffes, but his favorite was his 4 hippopotamuses. When the government took over the land, most of the animals were relocated to sanctuaries. However, the hippos escaped and now reside in swamps near the hacienda. They subsequently continued to proliferate at an astonishing rate, and there are now approximately 100 hippos in the neighborhood. Number 2. He owned a mansion in the Caribbean. Escobar also purchased a magnificent Caribbean vacation on Isla Grande, the largest of the 27 cluster islands that comprise the Islas del Rosario, 22 miles from Cartagena. The opulent home was similar to a drug-fueled Xanadu, which is now in ruins and being reclaimed by nature. The massive complex included a home, waterfront apartments, a palm court centered around a massive swimming pool, and a helicopter landing pad. The main mansion had over 300 rooms for guests and partygoers, and Escobar is believed to have gone to great lengths to make it look as magnificent as possible, right down to gold shower heads in the baths. Escobar's playground was reminiscent of a strip from Miami's South Beach in the 1980s. Number 1. He donated huge amounts to charity. While Escobar enjoyed splurging on his lifestyle, he also gave large sums to Medellin's philanthropic institutions. Many saw Escobar's construction of hospitals, schools, churches, and stadiums for the Medellin community as a deception to keep the population on his side. He even funded soccer teams, which increased his popularity among Colombians, who considered him as a modern-day Robin Hood. In 1982, he was elected to an alternate position in the country's Congress, but he was forced to quit after his unlawful activities were revealed. Escobar lived up to his infamous image by assassinating the justice minister who led the campaign against him. And with that being said, it's time to end our video. What's your take on Pablo Escobar's luxurious life? Let us know in the comments. Like this video and make sure to subscribe to the channel for more amazing videos like this. We'll see you in the next video.